You're advocating killing innocent babies. And so these are questions that you should have thought through. Wasn't that your argument? That you think that women should be allowed to have abortions even if it's up to 9 months at any point?
So I'll reiterate my point, since clearly you didn't listen to in our last conversation. Okay. So what I said in that conversation was I would rather live in a world where women have access to abortion at 9 months, because I think that the person who you described, who is pregnant for 9 months and then randomly decides to get an abortion just for the fun of it, I don't think this person exists. What I do think exists is women who need abortions at 9 months or close to 9 months, these third trimester abortions, which are extremely rare and are, as far as I know, I've never seen a single example of one that didn't have medical extreme medical circumstances surrounding it. But again, if you think your hypothetical woman should put these women's lives at risk because of your values, that's fine. I value different things, and that's okay.
So I can't remember. I'll find this article and I'll send it to you at some point. But it was like Times Magazine or the New Yorker or something did this piece on this doctor that's considered one of the most prolific third trimester abortion doctors in the country. He estimates that only something like 5 to 10% of the third trimester abortions he's done were done so for medical necessity. They were almost all elective reasons. And he said he would absolutely perform them for any reason whatsoever that the woman chose. He's talked about performing abortions because people's boyfriends left. He's talked about performing abortions because it was a girl instead of a boy, or vice versa. So the idea that this doesn't exist, or it's very rare, even if it would be rare, the fact that it would exist even once is grotesque, right? What you want to do is, when we're talking about these things, we're talking about our philosophical beliefs on what ought to be. You saying, yes, but based on what I ought to be, I still think that it would be rare that the worst case scenario would happen. Then just don't have your philosophical belief lead to that ought, right? It would be far better to say that there were exemptions that we should put on, that sometimes it is appropriate to access or to restrict women's access to abortion. Right? Why wouldn't you just say, fine, we'll say unless the woman's life's at danger after the second trimester, she shouldn't be allowed to get an abortion. And the reason is because you put no value on what you've called. You can't even get out of this by saying, I don't think that the fetus is a human life. You've acknowledged upon conception it is. You are advocating for the intentional killing of innocent human life because of a matter of convenience for the woman.
Okay, so to be clear, I believe that first of all, I'm curious about this article. Yep. Okay, I would love to see this article. What I suspect, and we'll find out once I actually get the chance to read this. What I suspect, when you are describing him saying 10% are medical necessity, what I suspect is actually going on is it's 10% are life or immediate life or death situations, but the other 90% are probably extreme medical circumstances where the woman is deciding between going through a bunch of other dangerous consequences that could be dangerous for herself or the child, and those are the situations outside of that 10%. But again, we'll find out when I look at that article. In any case, you are asserting again that I don't care about these babies in the womb. Obviously, I do. And obviously, I care about the women who are carrying those babies. And this is why I've advocated over and over again for increasing access to contraception and increasing comprehensive sex ed, which are things that are both shown over and over again to reduce the amount of necessary abortions. Yeah, I mean, I love women getting abortions at 9 months when you're just asserting that there is someone who's doing these things all the time. Again, we're going to wait and see your article. Hopefully that actually says that in the article. But you're literally just making a wild, cruel accusation against me, which I think we've had enough conversations that that I'm not some horrific person who loves the smell of dead babies. Maybe in my spare time I haven't revealed that to you, but the idea that you've come to that conclusion rationally is a joke.
Again, there's a misnomer here. You're saying, okay, I can concede this. You care about the babies. You just care about their life less than the convenience of the mother. Is that fair?
I care about them than the rights of the mother. Yes.
Okay. So then, when I say you don't care, of course you can say that about anything. You can say I'm advocating for the killing of this innocent thing, but don't you dare claim that I don't care about that innocent person. Right? I'm just saying that someone else's rights are more important than that innocent person. In this case, you're not saying that this innocent person is causing the death of another person. You're just saying no, it's for convenience, because for whatever reason the woman chooses, is there any reason that a woman could cite that you would say, nope, you wouldn't allow that abortion? Is there any reason?
Well, the reason I wouldn't The reason I wouldn't put restrictions on abortion, although I'm open to hearing good legislation about it, I've never seen any laws that don't that people haven't critiqued as being complicated enough to the point, or being reductive enough to the point where women who are seeking abortions that might be medically necessary are going to face the doctors are going to have complications in deciding whether or not they might get sued for actually doing that abortion. That's the problem that we have, and that's why, like I said, I've never heard of these women who are seeking abortions for fun or convenience at 9 months. It all seems to be about medical necessity or extreme medical circumstances that are there. It's a risk of much of deeper complications.
It doesn't
that seems let me finish. That seems to be all the situations that I'm aware of, and I am more concerned with that than I am a hypothetical woman who you assert exists, but I've never seen evidence that she does exist.
It doesn't
and if
matter.
she does, then I can. If she does, I'll morally condemn her. I don't care. Like, bad, shame on her. Yes, I would prefer to not risk these women's lives for the sake of this hypothetical.
That's a bunch of words to not answer the specific point that I make. The specific point I made was, if a woman, for whatever reason, at 9 months, at 8 months, says, I want this abortion, is there any circumstance where you would say, no, you're not allowed to have it? A yes or no would suffice.
I would morally judge her. I would morally judge her, but I wouldn't make it illegal. No.
You would morally judge her legally.
I'm a pragmatist. I wouldn't make it illegal.
Okay, so then legally you would say that she's allowed to end that baby's life for any reason.
Yes, because I don't see myself as the arbiter of whether or not it's a justified abortion.
And the reason would be because ultimately her choice is more important than the baby's life.
Well, in some sense, yes.
So that would mean that for her convenience, which you would accept would be a totally valid reason, she could just say, just because I feel like it, you would say, yes, she should be allowed to terminate that baby.
Yes, but again, pragmatically, I mean, this is a hypothetical that never happens as far as I'm aware. Rob has still provided no example of this ever happening. He's asserting that's happening in a bunch of different cases, but he has not found me this article. I can't wait to see it, where it's going to show me that apparently 90% of the abortions this doctor has done
I don't know the exact number. I don't know the exact number it says, but
you had a number earlier, but yeah, maybe you don't have the exact one.
Okay, I find this paper, it's from the Atlantic. It's called The Abortion Absolutist, William Hearn, right? So I'm going through it here. It's longer than I remembered. Maybe I read in some other places what the percentage was that he does, but it shocked me. And I'm someone who's looked at abortion quite frequently and sort of what goes on. And it was shocking to me of what he talks about here, of the abortions he's provided. During the conversation, from the ones that followed, I prodded for cracks in Hearn's certainty. At one point, I thought I'd found one. Hearn had told me about a woman who'd sought an abortion because she didn't want to have a baby girl. I thought he had refused. But when I followed up to ask him why, I learned that I'd misunderstood. Hearn said he'd done the abortions for sex selection twice. Once for this woman and once for a woman who desperately wanted a girl. It was her choice to make, he explained. So if a pregnant woman with no health issues comes in the clinic in, let's say, 30 weeks, what would you do? I asked Hearn once. The question irked him. Every pregnancy is a health issue, he exclaimed. There is certifiable risk from death from being pregnant, period. That means he's literally admitting he has done abortions 30 weeks and prior. At least two of them.
That's not what that sentence says. That's not what that sentence said, Rob. He said that every pregnancy is a health risk. She asked about the hypothetical of 30 weeks, and before that, he gave an example of people who he has done abortions for, who were related to the sex of the baby, but he did not say those were 30 weeks. So okay, I don't know why you're.
Let me say this: would you then say that this explanation that everyone's a health risk and he would give abortions for health risk logically implies that he would give an abortion at any time for any reason? Because every pregnancy is a health risk.
And I agree with that. Legally, I do. Even if I might morally condemn it.
Okay, so then the point is you're acknowledging, right? You're acknowledging that this situation that you said doesn't exist. This doctor specifically, who does late-term abortions, said he's done two. And this guy that was asking the question was shocked that he thought. You're
telling me this guy only does late-term abortions. He doesn't do other abortions.
He specializes in late-term abortions.
That doesn't mean he only does late-term abortions. Doctors often specialize in multiple fields.
The reason that people comes by, the reason that people come to him is for these late-term abortions. The fact that you're going to say that this whole article where he's being interviewed by late-term abortions, where people specialize in coming to him, that you're like, but maybe these two that he's talking about in reference to conversations of people thinking it's grotesque to have late-term abortions, maybe these two weren't late-term. They were just elective abortions.
Well, I don't know if they were. I'd be open to evidence showing they were. What I'm telling you is that what you read to me just now does not demonstrate that those two were late-term abortions.
Okay.
You're speculating. Do you agree you're speculating?
No, I'm making an inferred decision, which it may suggest elsewhere in this article, given that this is an article referencing this guy about being the abortion absolutist, specializing in giving late trimester abortions. And he's talking about a situation that the author who is having this conversation with him was shocked by, that he assumed, oh, but surely in this case of the late term abortion, when it was just for sex, that you were like, no. And he's like, no, of course I did it. I would assume that it's fair to intuit.
That's not what that paragraph said, though.
I would say.
Are you going to post the article in the back, by the way?
Yes. It's behind a paywall, but hopefully the archive does.
That's fine. I have Sci-Hub and shit.
Let's see.
Or other like ads. Like I have some of those. Like there's ways to view paywalled articles, guys. Google it.
Right. But again, it's clear through the thrust of
why don't you want to post it? Wait, Rob, why don't you want to post it?
The reason that I'm not posting it right now is because I'm fucking streaming, you loser. Now I have to lower the screen, which I was going to do afterwards. Now I'll post it, you fucking abortion fucking monster.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine if you want to get a little more heated.
I'm sorry for asking for the evidence that you were citing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
So now that we've given that, you would say that a woman, for any reason, that you would legally allow her to have this abortion, and we provided reasons that people gave electively, and this article will go on to talk about there's tons of reasons, not health reasons. The Guttmacher Institute, for example, says that the majority of late trimester abortions, or what they call late-term abortions, were done for elective reasons. It wasn't for the woman's health, right? That's what the Guttmacher Institute.
Wait, elective and for her health are not; those are not mutually exclusive, right? You can have an elective procedure for health-related reasons, right?
No, elective implies what they're saying that these are reasons outside the scope of the health that were issued.
No, I don't. I mean,
yes, that's
show
true.
me that they're using that definition.
If I do, will you eat shit and leave the panel for the rest of the night?
Potentially, but
I want a yes or no. If you're going to have me look this up, you're going to eat shit and leave the panel for the rest of the night and admit you're a fucking subhuman monster for wanting to kill babies and allowing it. You've already said that your rationale
Our elective instead of that whole like virtue signaling thing, we could just been Googling this. Our elective procedure is necessarily unrelated to health concerns. No, elective procedures are not necessary even if they are unrelated to health concerns, but they are performed for other reasons. Not necessary if they are unrelated to health concerns.
Oh, wait. Say that again?
It says many procedures are elective and medically necessary, while others are purely for cosmetic and personal enhancement. So, like I said, there are plenty of things that are categorized as elective that are still like related to health concerns. I feel like that's blatantly obvious. But.
Okay, so I'll find the article and then you can fuck off and admit. Now, I just want to say your entire argument is you can't defend your moral principles that you advocate for these late trimester abortions. You can't. You're just like, I don't think women will do it. I provide you one article from this Hearn guy saying, as a doctor, I do these things, and they're oftentimes not for medical reasons, and I'll do them for any reason, right? Now I'll provide you with more evidence, hopefully, that there are late-term abortions that actually are done for non-medically life-saving things or non-medical reasons for the woman. And when I do that, what's your answer going to be then? You were wrong about...
Well, I'm curious. Okay, so like I said, I'm not aware of situations where there's no health concerns involved, where women are seeking abortions just because they are excited about killing a baby at 9 months or whatever. You are convinced these people exist. You are alleging that some examples of these are in this article that you referenced, which doesn't actually say that. It just says that there is an abortion doctor who specializes in late-term abortions, who did do a procedure on someone who did not want the sex of the baby, which, again, I don't think it's a great reason to have an abortion, but there's no evidence that was a late-term abortion either. And all I'm saying is that what I value, right, is that if somebody is pregnant and they don't want to risk going through childbirth, then they have a right to stop that process.
So here's the national...
reasonable. Millions of people in America have the same position. There's only about 10% who believe that we should ban abortion outright. And yeah, I know.
Millions of people... Your argument is that millions of people have the position that we should allow abortions at any time for any reason.
Close to it.
Okay, well, those millions of people are subhuman fucking monsters. Now, I'll read this from the National Review. So why do these babies die? The Guttmacher Institute looked at the reasons for late-term abortions, and the reasons are chilling. First, the top-line finding is clear. Quote, data suggests that most women seeking later terminations are not doing so for reasons of fetal anomaly or life endangerment. Instead, there were 5 general profiles of women who sought later abortions, describing 80% of the sample. These women were raising children alone, were depressed or using illicit substances, were in conflict with a male partner, or were experiencing domestic violence, had trouble deciding and then had access problems, or were young and nulliparous, had never given birth. Those are the top reasons that women have given for wanting late-term abortions, according to the Guttmacher Institute, which is one of the biggest pro-abortion organizations out there. You were saying?
I'm pulling up the actual who seeks abortions. Oh, at or after 20 weeks. So this is not like exactly. Okay, let's see. Conclusion: bans on abortions after 20 weeks will disproportionately affect young women and women with limited financial resources. Sure. Later term abortions. Most women seeking later abortion fit at least 1 of 5 profiles. Okay, this is what you were saying. They were raising children alone, were depressed, or using illicit substances. That's a pretty bad thing. If you're pregnant or using illicit substances, it's going to cause a lot of different problems, right? That might be a good reason for someone to seek an abortion. Conflict with a male partner, experiencing domestic violence. So these sorts of situations are ones where people may not have had the opportunity even to seek an abortion until late term because they are dealing with a partner who's abusive, and there's all sorts of complications that come with that. Let's see.
Ryan, why you like this, bro?
And so then,
what do you mean? Why am I like this?
Here's the
I'm just giving more context because, like, Rob's implying. Well, I'll tell you why I'm like this. Rob's implying that I'm like some horrible person because I'm supporting all these women who want to do all these horrible things. And they hate children. They love killing babies. And I'm saying the world's more fucking complicated than that. We're not all fucking babies like Rob, and we can actually understand that people have really difficult decisions they make. I have empathy for women who seek abortions, even if I don't agree with their choice. Okay.
No, so if I can, you are a monster, right? You are a monster, and as we didn't even get to the meat of it last time, you acknowledged after hemming and hawing, like the burden of proof's on the person who wants to kill an innocent human being, which is what you're suggesting. Yes or no?
Can I ask? Oh,
yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
Can I ask Ryan if I wanted to unalive myself out of empathy? Would you let me?
I'm okay with stopping people from doing that.
Wait, so she shouldn't morally have the ability to kill herself, but she should have to kill another human life for her convenience.
Well, I'll explain why. I mean, I'm open to like certain situations where people selectively decide to end their lives, right, under specific circumstances. But generally, the reason that I think we should stop people who are attempting to take their lives is because 99.999 times out of 100, these are people who are having a extreme episode and they're extremely dysregulated. This is not a rational decision where they decided their life is literally like is unbearable. They're in unbearable pain because of some medical condition or whatever. Like, this is usually someone who is in an extreme moment of distress, and they are not going to continue to wish that upon themselves. So I think that's an
elective abortion, right?
Sorry. Let me try it this way. I'm pregnant, and it puts me in extreme emotional distress, and I just can't do it. So therefore, abortion is only route. You have that empathy in that moment, but you're not going to empathize if I say, you know what? I myself as a human being am just in complete stress and I just financially can't figure it out. I think it's just an easier route. If I just, do it to myself and call it a day, wouldn't that be the same reasoning for both instances?
So, number one, I would say for both of those situations, I would prefer a world where those people are given the financial resources to take care of themselves in a way that will make them not want to end their life or the life of the child, right? So if there are pregnant women who want to get an abortion because of financial reasons, I think the best case is to support them financially so that they choose not to have that abortion.
You're fucking dodging, Ryan. Answer her fucking question.
I don't feel like I'm dodging. I feel like I'm giving a
percent fucking dodging, dude.
Hold on.
Damn, I can't take this.
I know. Just hold on. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm dodging. I feel like I'm directly engaging with the premise, which is that there are women who or there are poor people who want to end their lives because of financial distress, and there are women who want to end their pregnancies because of financial distress. And I'm saying the root of those causes is the financial distress, and I would try to address that, right? But yes, it's true that I believe that for different reasons than I think we should stop people from ending their own lives, that I believe that women should have the right to seek out an abortion, because I don't feel that I'm the arbiter of deciding whether or not it's justified for them to seek an abortion. But I don't necessarily think I'm the one for.
Are you the arbiter to decide if to help me if I think that I shouldn't still be here?
If I thought that you were going to do that, I would probably I would do like a welfare check or something on you. If you were like texting me and you're like, Ryan, like I'm done.
But hold on. If
I would
hold on. If I call and tell you, Ryan, I'm pregnant and I'm emotionally distressed. I can't do this anymore. This is just driving me up a wall. I don't want a baby. This is not something I expected. Woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. Are you going to do a welfare check if I say I'm going to have an abortion?
Potentially only if what was happening is before that you were extremely excited about it, and I had good reason to believe that. But if you've consistently been showing that, then I might be less concerned. I mean, again, I evaluate these things. I think this is very different thing.
Last time we had this conversation, when I talked about you being arbitrary, and you said, no, I'm not, and then you come up here giving an entirely arbitrary reasoning for your moral position. Sarah brought up the kill shot to what your entire argument, okay? Because your entire argument last time was that the case of the pregnancy, that the baby is in the womb, and the nature of this pregnancy and your empathy for it is enough reason to allow her to kill an innocent human being. So she's asking you, okay, so the nature of her pregnancy, that she has a child in the womb, by your moral standards, it should be legal for her to kill herself on account of this pregnancy, because you have said it's legal for her to kill another human. It's the exact same criteria, and in one, you're obfuscating and going financial stuff in the economy. Fucking dodge, dude, and then saying it's not a dodge.
So I don't think it's arbitrary. I think there's consistency at least. I mean, you might consider arbitrary. I don't think it is.
How is that consistent?
There is consistency at least.
You would stop her from eliminating herself, but not from eliminating another.
I would also, if she was pregnant and wanted to eliminate herself, I would also want to stop that. Right? So it's not.
We're saying
you think it should be legal for her to off herself because she's pregnant. You have to say that.
No, I think it should be illegal for her to off herself regardless of.
Right. The real argument, I mean, Eli, you're getting to the point. The real argument is, as we went through last time, the core principle that you're saying why the woman has the right to terminate that baby for any reason is bodily autonomy, correct? There is nothing.
Sort of. You guys always reduce it to that. I'm not sure I would use that phrase personally to identify my core value there, but you're welcome to use it in this conversation. That is what it is. As we went through, that is what you think it is. That's your perception of it. That's not my perception of it. We can move on with that.
Give the perception, then. Please, no one interrupt. Allow Ryan to explain why it's not bodily autonomy. What is it? Why a woman who's 9 months pregnant for any reason?
I'm not saying it's not. Okay, to be clear, Rob, I'm not saying it's not bodily autonomy. What I'm saying is personally, what I'm talking about is I don't use that phrase because I don't feel that it captures everything I'm describing here. I don't have a short, witty phrase to identify exactly what all my values are regarding this. I think it's perfectly fine.
What's the symmetry breaker?
I got another question.
What is the particular? What is the
to have values and express my values? I don't have to be able to answer every single possible question you can throw at me. You know that, right? I just don't feel that. I don't feel the obligation. I'm allowed to say I'm not sure about this, and I do. And I tell you guys when I'm not sure about something, and you guys scream and squeal like little children about it. But all I'm doing is being honest. I'm honestly engaging.
You're the only person.
But the difference is this, though, Ryan. You're advocating killing innocent babies. And so these are questions that you should have thought through. To be like, I don't really know what the value is. I don't know. I wouldn't call it, maybe you could call it bodily autonomy. Maybe, like, if you're advocating killing.
Not being able to put a quick label on it doesn't mean I don't know. I can't describe the value, right?
Then explain
Hold on.
Then explain it to me.
I've told you over and over, it sounds horrifying to me to force women to carry birth. It sounds horrifying to me. This is my core thing I explained last time, and you just weren't listening, apparently. My core thing is that it sounds if I could get pregnant and the state, because my Republican congressman decided, no, you can't have an abortion, I would be horrified that I would feel like I'm being forced to stay pregnant against my will. That sounds like a nightmare situation. I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to put women in that situation. We're okay with that. That's their difference.
Ruin the whole
You act like people just walking down the sidewalk, trip and fall, and become pregnant on accident. Like
Ryan, last time we talked about this, I asked you about this, and have you taken the time to watch the congressional testimony of the lady from Planned Parenthood? Did you take time to do that?
No, I didn't watch it.
So that was like 5 months ago.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't watch every single thing, every single piece of content someone hands me.
No, but you should know about what you're talking about, bro. That's why Rob's getting mad.
You know what I'm talking about.
What have I said? I watched all of it. Kent, I watched all of it. It has nothing to do with whether or not the legality of abortion should be there.
Again, so the point I want to make.
Everything to do with that.
The point I want to make.
What does that have to do with it, 10th man?
Go ahead, Kent. Explain it, please.
Okay, pivot.
No, let him explain it.
I don't know this particular video. I can't explain that video.
No, not you, the guy who told me he watched it.
I did. No. I said there's absolutely no relevancy of it to the legality of abortion.
So when she described that she wasn't actually a person that did this procedure normally, but then she had to go in and assist because the person that was going to be there to assist,
whether or not it should
and then she watched the body parts of the babies getting sucked into the jars. That has nothing to do with this?
No, it has absolutely nothing to do with what we should do in law, 10th man. I can describe to you a really disgusting plastic surgery that would have no bearing on law.
Okay, if I can get back
body parts of a human baby, but that has nothing to do with this?
It is absolutely not.
It is grotesque.
It's gross. That has nothing to do with law, right?
If I can,
there are gross things that shouldn't be illegal.
Go ahead, Rob.
Man, I think your voice is gross. That doesn't mean I think you should be illegal or legally barred from talking.
Okay, to get back to Ryan's point here.
To get back to
Ryan's point.
BBLs.
To get back to Ryan's point, right, where he doesn't understand, even there when he explains, I just think it would be horrifying if I was a woman for the government to tell me that I couldn't get an abortion. The implication there, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, is the government shouldn't have the right to control your body like that. That would be horrifying.
That's a major part of it, but again, I'm not sure that I would reduce bodily autonomy. You want to pigeonhole me into bodily autonomy. I'm just not comfortable tying myself into that little hole. I don't feel that it absolutely describes like the breadth of what I'm describing here. You want to use it for whatever purposes. All I'm saying is no. I'm not going to use that label.
I have a very big headache. You're killing a life. And we recognize that, and that's why I'm giving you the mere example. If I said I was going to do it to myself, or even more so, Ryan, if I said, I don't like Eli, he stresses me the fuck out. He comes on here, he yells all the time. It's giving me headaches. I'm not sure what I'm going to do anymore. It's making me crazy, and I think it's just time to pew pew. By Eli. The law says no because I am violating the rights of another human being, and that is a life, and we recognize that as a life. In this very instance with the baby, we recognize that as the life. And we grant those rights ahead of them being, born here. We grant that. So that's why I say, like, if I decide to do it to myself, pew pew, or someone else, pew pew, or even baby, scoop scoop, right? Like it should be the same across the board, because when we change the dynamics of what a life means to us, then we can open that Pandora's box even further. Why stop at baby, like in womb? Why not add it to like, okay, baby born? Why not?
I will answer that.
2-year-old, 5-year-old.
I will answer that. I will answer this, right? And this is why, so I'm gonna, because I can't, what I like to do is like ask a question, leave the opponent answer, and have a back and forth. I can't do that. And it's the nature of the panel, and it's the nature of Ryan's inability to give straightforward answers. So I will answer, Sarah, what's going on here. When we talk about bodily autonomy, etc., you remember the last time I talked to him, we got him to concede that it would be part of bodily autonomy for a woman after the child is born to say that her body now has to exist to take care of the baby. And if that is a form of bodily autonomy, and the woman has the right for bodily autonomy to terminate a pregnancy, then what is the limiting principle that she shouldn't be allowed to terminate a 1 day old or a 2 day old? And this is why Ryan gives this invisible.
Oh, you don't. Oh, I'm sorry.
Please, this is exactly why I said I didn't want to give Ryan a chance to interject, because I could never make my position here. Right? This is why Ryan defaults to this very vague. There's something more.
It's inside of her is the difference, guys. It's inside of her. The baby's inside of her. I thought Rob was going to address that because I thought he was.
I'll just talk over you, Ryan. You fucking baby killing wannabe sack of shit. Right? Like, I'll just talk over you. I don't give a fuck if that's what you're going to do. I sure I could talk longer and harder than you, because unlike you, I'm not some fucking baby killing fucking lefty that's incapable of doing anything of a physical nature to be able to have an intellectual debate and not be a fucking monster. So I can talk over you if you need to spring out. And I understand that you would need to do that. So let me finish the point here. The point is, that's why he's going to have this vague principle beyond bodily autonomy. So he won't hammer down on that. Instead, he'll just say there's something more to it. So it doesn't matter how we could test this. It never matters. Any objection we could raise. Here's a scenario. And Ryan will always be able to default to, but there's something more there. I don't know how to define it. There's something more there that justifies us being allowed to kill these babies. There's something more. I can't define it. I don't know what it is, but it's there.
Like, obviously, he's finished his point. He's just kind of like hammering. He's trying to hammer it down.
No different than a person saying we want to kill people of a certain race.
Because you're ridiculous, Ryan.
When you're like,
right? So let me address the bodily autonomy thing. Whenever Rob, go take your fucking heart medication, dude. You look like you're gonna turn into a fucking
Ryan.
Cherry popsicle. It's crazy.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you with that fucking snaggletooth sticking out there before you make fun of
Sarah
other
the
people's
quick
fucking.
Don't worry,
answers.
Crystal's gonna fix it. Crystal's gonna fix it. Don't worry.
I'm not so sure if they'll fix a baby killer's tooth, you fucking loser, snaggletooth.
Well, maybe if Andrew wants to go back on his word, but at this point, Andrew's known I'm a quote unquote baby killer. I've been
nonetheless, the point
I've been pro-choice the entire time we've known each other.
This would be no different than if you gave some principle to justify killing a person of a certain ethnicity, and someone said, "Wait, look how."
Right, so it is different because the person's in.
Again, Ryan,
notice. Wait, you're gonna keep going. You're just still going. Let me respond. Let me respond.
If you just let me finish, I'd finish. And you would always be
never
able to
gonna
say
fucking
there's
finish.
some other principle. So anything you can criticize me about that, trust me, there's more to the principle that I can't articulate. I want to kill innocent people. I think it should be allowed. I just can't explain why. That's Ryan's argument.